So here we are going to discuss about the role played by Jawaharlal Nehru when he moved the objective resolution. So you can see from the image also that here Jawaharlal Nehru was moving the objective resolution, and objective resolution, as we discussed, was the roadmap upon which the Indian Constitution was made. So Nehru moved the crucial, that is objective resolution. He proposed that the national flag of India should be horizontal tricolor of saffron, white and dark green in equal proportion. So the national flag of India, how it should be, that was proposed by Jawaharlal Nehru, that there should be three colors and these three colors should be in equal proportion in the national flag, and these were the saffron, white and green, and it is our national flag which was proposed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Secondly, there should be a wheel in the middle of the national flag and it should be in blue color. So national flag which is right now was proposed by Jawaharlal Nehru in the Constituent Assembly. So this was the role which was played by Jawaharlal Nehru. This is one task. Now the role of Rajendra Prasad. Rajendra Prasad's role was as a president of the assembly to steer the discussion along the constructive lines while making sure all members had a chance to speak. So like today there is a role of Lok Sabha speaker, the same way there was the role of Rajendra Prasad to steer the discussion in the Constituent Assembly, and the discussion should be on constructive lines. There should not be any disturbance. Everybody should get a chance to speak and to give his viewpoint in the Constituent Assembly. So that was the task which was done by Rajendra Prasad. So Rajendra Prasad coordinated every discussion which was there in the Constituent Assembly. Patel worked mostly behind the scene, playing a key role in the drafting of the several reports and working to reconcile opposing points of the view. So that was the work which was done by Sardar Patel. So maximum work of the Sardar Patel was in the background. He was not in the forefront like Jawaharlal Nehru. B.R. Ambedkar, who was the law minister, also first law minister of India, and he was a lawyer also. So as a lawyer and economist, served as the chairman of the drafting committee of the constitution. At independence, B.R. Ambedkar joined the Union cabinet as the law minister, and he joined as the law minister on the advice of Mahatma Gandhi. So mainly Ambedkar wrote the constitution and he was the head of the drafting committee. So all the discussions and debates took place in the Constituent Assembly. The chairman of the Constituent Assembly was Rajendra Prasad, but the drafting committee who used to draft the constitution and who used to write the constitution, the head of that drafting committee was the B.R. Ambedkar, Bhim Rao Ambedkar, who was a Dalit leader. So he also joined after independence as the law minister, first law minister in India. Now you can see that this is the image of the drafting committee. This is Bhim Rao Ambedkar, who used to be the head of the drafting committee. So who were else apart from him in the drafting committee, that we will discuss. So first of all we will discuss about the drafting committee. B.R. Ambedkar, serving with him were two other lawyers, and these two other lawyers were K.M. Munshi from Gujarat and Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, he was from Madras, both of whom gave crucial inputs in the drafting of the constitution. So this was B.R. Ambedkar, this is Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyengar, and this is the K.M. Munshi. So these two people also played an important role in drafting the Constitution of India along with B.R. Ambedkar. B.N. Rao, constitutional advisor to the government of India, who prepared series of background papers based on a close study of the political systems obtaining in other countries. So B.N. Rao, who was also a constitutional advisor, he was also a great thinker. He read all the constitution of different countries and he brought the best thing from those constitution, and he drafted constitution for India also. Chief draftman was S.N. Mukherjee, who had the ability to put complex proposals in clear and the legal language. So S.N. Mukherjee converted the ordinary language into the legal language, and he drafted the constitution very carefully. We will discuss about the objective resolution which was moved by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and it is considered to be the roadmap of the independent India's constitution. So what were the major provisions or what were the major things in the objective resolution that we are going to discuss here? So objective resolution. On 13th December 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru introduced objective resolution. It proclaimed India to be an independent, sovereign republic, guaranteed its citizens justice, equality, freedom, and assured adequate safeguard for minorities, backward and tribal areas, depressed and backward classes. So objective resolution which talked about all these people, that there should be justice, there should be equality in the constitution. Then Nehru also referred to the American and the French constitution and events associated with its making. So here Nehru became a nostalgic and he talked about the course in the history at the international level as well as about India. He talked about the American War of Independence. He talked about the French Revolution and how the constitution was made in America and France, and what were the good points of the American as well as the French constitution that was discussed by Jawaharlal Nehru in the objective resolution. Here we will again discuss about the objective resolution. And the objective resolution of Indian Constitution would be to fuse the liberal ideas of democracy with the socialist ideas of economic justice and readapt and rework all these ideas within the Indian context. So we should not be only capitalist, we should not have the liberal ideas only, we should also be socialist, and social welfare should also be there. So all the ideas of communism as well as the capitalism should be used, and they should be used in such a manner which is good for the Indian people. They should be used and they should be adapted in India according to the context of India. Here we will discuss something more about the objective resolution. The objective resolution of the Indian Constitution would be to fuse the liberal ideas of democracy with the socialist ideas of economic justice. So he wanted a fusion of the liberal ideas as well as the socialist ideas, and they should be used in such a manner which is good for India, so that these ideas has to be readapted and reworked according to the Indian context. So whatever is good for India, the ideas which is copied from elsewhere has to be used according to the Indian context. Nehru's plea was for creative thinking about what was appropriate for India. So he believed that that has to be done in India which is good for the India as well as its people. So that was the thinking of Nehru, and he asked the people who were sitting in the Constituent Assembly to work according to objective resolution, and objective resolution laid emphasis for the betterment and for the welfare of the Indian people. Now, what were the will of the people? What was the will of the people? That we will come to know from the discussion that took place in the Constituent Assembly. There were many members apart from Jawaharlal Nehru who spoke on the objective resolution which was moved by Jawaharlal Nehru. So that was the beginning. Now we will discuss the others' opinion on objective resolution, whether they were satisfied whatever is being said in the objective resolution, or they wanted some sort of modification, or they added something else in the objective resolution. That we will discuss here. So we will discuss here some important members. You can see that these were the people who used to be there in Constituent Assembly, and they used to be the most important people. A communist member, Somnath Lahari, saw the dark hand of British imperialism hanging over the deliberations of the Constituent Assembly. Remember, Constituent Assembly was formed in 1946. According to Somnath Lahiri, at that time there was British rule, and under the guidance of the Britishers, this Constituent Assembly was formed. So he was very skeptic about the Constituent Assembly, whether Constituent Assembly would be able to exercise its power to frame the law for India, or whether the laws which were framed by this Constituent Assembly would be interfered by the Britishers. So he believed that since it is a creation of the Britishers, so we could not work freely without the interference of the Britishers. So he was very skeptic about the interferences of the Britishers in the Constitution of India. He thus asked the members and Indians in general to fully free themselves from the influence of the imperial rule. He asked all the members who used to be there in Constituent Assembly that they should work according to the will of the people of India. They should free themselves firstly from the British influence. Otherwise, the constitution which was going to be framed at that time would not be a truly Indian constitution. So that was the doubt which was raised by Somnath Lahiri in the Constituent Assembly. Lahiri exhorted his colleagues to realize that the Constituent Assembly was British made and was working the British plan as the British should like it to be worked out. So he believed that since this Constituent Assembly was framed by the Britishers, so it would work according to the plan of the Britishers. So he was doubtful that the Constituent Assembly would be working freely according to the wish of the Indian people. So that doubt was raised in the Constituent Assembly by Somnath Lahiri. Next we will again read about the will of the people. What was the will of the people? Nehru admitted that most nationalist leaders had wanted a different kind of Constituent Assembly. So whatever is being said here by the Somnath Lahiri, that was also accepted by Jawaharlal Nehru. He accepted that though the Constituent Assembly is the creation of the Britishers, but it should work according to the Indians. British government had a hand in the birth of the Constituent Assembly, and it had attached certain conditions within which the assembly had to function. It means Somnath Lahiri was right when he was saying that Britishers are having a plan that how the Indian constitution should be alike. The same way Jawaharlal Nehru also accepted that Britishers are having its hand in the making of the Constituent Assembly, and they were also having certain terms and conditions which has been implemented on the functioning of the Constituent Assembly. But he also emphasized that you must not ignore the source from which this assembly derives its strength. So Jawaharlal Nehru said that we should not think only about the terms and conditions which were laid down by the Britishers. We should also think about the people, and people were the real source of their power because they were elected by the people in the provincial election of 1946. So Nehru urged the members of the Constituent Assembly that they should work according to the wish of the people, according to the will of the people, and they were the real source of their power. They should not be ignored by the members of the Constituent Assembly. And government are in fact the expression of the will of the people. Means government should function, a democratic government should function according to the will of the people. So the will of the people of that country is the foremost important. We have met here today because of the strength of the people behind us, and we shall go as far as the people, not of any party or group, but the people as a whole shall wish us to go. Means they can work for the people, and they are working because the people wanted that they should work for the people. Otherwise, without the will of the people, they would not be working anything. They would not be able to work anything for the constitution making of India. They are making the Constitution of India because they are given the power by the people of India. So they should work for the welfare of the people of India. So people of India should be at the center stage. Here Jawaharlal Nehru talked about the historical events. So what he speaks about the historical event in the Constituent Assembly, that we will discuss. Democracy, equality, justice were ideals that had become intimately associated with the social struggle in India since the 19th century. So there were many social struggles which took place in India in the 19th century. So the main aim of the social struggle was the democracy, means rules of people should be there. There should be equality. There should be justice. So these are the three things which we have to keep in mind while framing the Constitution of India. It was the urge of Jawaharlal Nehru and he was urging it to the members of the Constituent Assembly. When the social reformer in the 19th century proposed child marriage and demanded that widow be allowed to remarry, they were pleading for social justice. As we know that abolition of Sati Pratha and Widow Remarriage Act was also passed in India and it was implemented in India by the Britishers, and there were many Indian reformers who also played their role in materializing these acts in India, and like Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So here he is talking about that historical event, and that historical event was also there in India to provide the social justice to the people. So social justice should be at the center stage while framing the constitution. So this was the demand of Jawaharlal Nehru, and he was giving example from the past. When Swami Vivekananda campaigned for a reform of Hinduism, he wanted religion to become more just. So here he is talking about justice, and he is citing example from the past, and he is giving example here of Swami Vivekananda. So he was also working for the social justice. So social justice should be at the center stage. When Jyotiba Phule in Maharashtra pointed to the suffering of the depressed class, he was demanding social justice. So here he is giving various examples. Jyotiba Phule, who was a Dalit leader, who was a leader of the lower class in Maharashtra, he was also working to bring the social justice for the lower class people. So we should keep in mind the effort which was made by these great people. Communist and socialist organized workers and peasants, they were demanding the economic justice. So not only social justice, here he is talking about the economic justice, means equal opportunity should be there for the working class people and for the peasantry, so that they can also have an opportunity to develop. The national movement was inevitably a struggle for democracy and justice, for citizens' right and equality. Here he is talking about the nationalist movement which were organized by Mahatma Gandhi and other leaders like Swadeshi movement, non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and all these movements were there for the democracy, for the justice and for equality and for citizens' right. So while framing the constitution, we should think about these nationalist struggle as well as the work which were done in India by the social reformers and the great leaders of the past. Here he is talking about the constitution of India which was there before the constitution which was made by the Constituent Assembly. So here we will talk about different laws which were framed by the Britishers in India when it used to be a colony. So he is talking about the British government passed a number of acts in 1909, that is Morlemento Reform, which was there in India by the Britishers. Montagu-Chelmsford Reform, that was introduced in India in 1919, and Rowlatt Act was also a part of this reform. And in 1935, Government of India Act. So this 1935 is the most important because it laid the foundation of the Indian Constitution. So mainly Indian Constitution was based on the Constitution which was passed in 1935. So this is known as the Government of India Act of 1935, and it laid the foundation of the Indian Constitution. Gradually enlarging the space for Indian participants in provincial government. So in 1909 some sort of representation was given to India, and it was enhanced in 1919, and thereafter in 1935 more representation to the Indian people was given. The same way we should also give the representation to the general public in our constitution. So that was the aim while speaking about these constitutional reform in India by Jawaharlal Nehru. The executive was made partly responsible to the provincial legislature in 1919 and almost entirely so under the Government of India Act of 1935. When elections were held in 1937 under the Act of Government of India 1935, elections were held first time in 1937 under the Act 1935. The Congress came to power in 8 out of the 11 provinces. So Congress won with a majority in 8 provinces out of the 11 provinces. Constituent Assembly from 1946 was unbroken continuity of earlier constitutional development in India. So whatever constitution is being framed at that time in Constituent Assembly, according to Jawaharlal Nehru, was a continuation of the constitution reformation which started in 1909 by the Britishers. But even in 1935, the electorate limited to no more than 10 to 15% of the adult population. Means under the Government of India Act of 1935, only 10 to 15% of Indian people were given the right to vote. But now Jawaharlal Nehru believed that, and other members of the Constituent Assembly also believed that there should be more representation for the Indian people and every adult should have a right to vote. The vision that Nehru was trying to outline on 13 December 1946, on which the objective resolution was moved by Jawaharlal Nehru in the Constituent Assembly, was of Constitution of an independent sovereign Republic of India. So on 13 December 1946, when Jawaharlal Nehru moved the objective resolution, so that was the roadmap for the constitution of independent and sovereign India, not a colonized India. So he asked that now the voting right should not be limited to 10 to 15% people, it should be universal adult franchisee, which was later on accepted in the Constitution of India. And now we are having universal adult franchisee where equal voting rights are given to women as well as the men, and above the age of 18 everybody is having the right to vote.